Yankee Girl, the laughing war. The parade banners still hung over Main Street when the first body was found. He was the mayor's campaign manager, discovered slumped in his office chair with a grin carved ear to ear and white powder smeared across his face. His secretary screamed until her voice broke. By the time the sheriff arrived, the only sound left was the slow wheeze of a phonograph playing an old comedy record on repeat, a wartime favorite, Chester Grin and his GI gags. The needle hissed and skipped. Laughter looped, empty and wrong. They said the killer painted smiles on his victims and left behind playing cards that read, "Smile. We're still at war." Joan Dale stepped off the morning bus and into a town that smelled of corn dogs, gasoline, and rain. She wore a plain blue dress, a waitress apron folded under her arm, and the kind of polite half-smile that made her invisible. The locals called her Joan, but the files in Washington knew her as something else. Yankee Girl, a living symbol of post-war optimism. She'd seen too much of what that optimism cost to believe in it anymore. The Blue Ribbon Diner was hiring, and anonymity always started with an apron. "Coffee?" the short-order cook asked. "Please," she said, sliding a quarter across the counter. The television above the pie case crackled with news of the upcoming Victory Parade, the town's annual celebration of peace. The anchor's voice was smooth and patriotic. "This year's theme," he said, "is America Still Smiles." Joan's reflection in the screen didn't smile back. That night, a deputy's body turned up near the fairgrounds. Same grin, same powder, same joke card. The sheriff blamed a drifter. Joan blamed ghosts. The carnival sat at the edge of town, forgotten since the war. The tents sagged like wet flags. The carousel horses had no eyes. She went there after midnight, wearing her blue and red uniform under a long coat, boots silent in the mud. The wind made the Ferris wheel turn slow, squealing like an animal in pain. Then she heard it, faint, broken laughter echoing through the fog. She followed it to the big top. The calliope started playing on its own, wheezing through missing notes. The air smelled of grease paint and rot. A voice drifted from the dark. "Do you still wear the flag, sweetheart? Don't you know it's a joke now?" He stepped into the lamplight. The mask was porcelain, cracked down the middle. The costume, once bright red, white, and blue, had faded to gray. The eyes behind the mask burned like lamps behind frosted glass. The clown. He'd been a legend, a wartime comic named Chester Grin, a USO performer who toured the front lines telling jokes to soldiers. During one show in France, the artillery hit mid-punchline. Every man in the audience died laughing. Chester disappeared that night. Some said he'd gone mad. Others said he never stopped performing. "I remember you," she said. "You used to tell jokes to dying men." "And they loved me for it," he replied. "Now I tell them to the living, and they hate me. Can't please an audience these days." He smiled. Or maybe the mask did. "I'm planning a comeback," he whispered. "National broadcast. The Victory Parade. America's going to die laughing." Then the lights went out. When they came back on, he was gone, and the tent was full of people, blank-eyed men in smeared face paint and carnival coats. They giggled as they moved. Gas hissed from vents in the floor. Yankee Girl tore open the canvas roof and leapt through the smoke into the rain. Behind her, the tent lit up with flickering colors, red, white, and blue, like fireworks burning too close. The next day, the parade began. Flags lined the street. Children waved paper smiles on sticks. Brass bands played old marches no one remembered the words to. The announcer's voice carried from every loudspeaker. "Today we celebrate laughter, liberty, and the bright future ahead." Joan Dale slipped through the crowd until she reached the broadcast van. The air smelled sweet, not like perfume, but like ether and dust. Inside the van, she found cylinders of pressurized gas wired to the confetti cannons. Each drum had a painted grin and a stamped signature. C.G. Chester Grin. Then the crowd cheered. The clown appeared on the grandstand, waving to them like an entertainer who had finally found his crowd again. "Ladies and gentlemen," he shouted, "welcome to the after-party of victory." The cannons went off. Red, white, and blue paper burst into the air, and with it, invisible gas. At first, people laughed. Then they couldn't stop. Their laughter became screams shaped like joy. A woman clawed at her own mouth, trying to breathe. Children laughed until they fainted. Yankee Girl ripped the gas valves out of the van and ran toward the reviewing stand. The clown saw her coming and opened his arms wide. "Ah, the red, white, and blue goddess herself," he said. "Come to save the show?" She didn't answer. She leapt onto the platform, slammed into him, and they went tumbling across bunting and microphones. He fought like a circus acrobat, flexible, unpredictable, impossible to pin. She hit harder. Each blow cracked porcelain. "You're fighting a memory," he hissed. "No," she said. "I'm fighting what happens when you stop believing in people." They crashed into the flagpole at the center of the stand. The pole bent, sparks flew, and the gas tanks beneath the platform started to rattle. She grabbed the pole, the flag still attached, and jammed it through the main vent. The explosion was almost beautiful. The air ignited, the fireworks caught, and red, white, blue light washed across the sky like a burning hymn. The gas cloud burned off in seconds. The laughter died down into silence. Smoke curled around them. The clown's mask was gone. Underneath it was a man's face, pale and ruined. He looked at her through blood and soot. "They laughed while they died," he whispered. "I told a joke and a shell landed. What else was I supposed to become?" "Someone better," she said. He smiled faintly. "Hate's cheaper." Then he pressed something in his hand. A trigger. The ground began to hum. There was another bomb below, bigger, mechanical, already counting down. She could have run. She didn't. She tore the wires free, grabbed the bomb, and lifted. Her arms shook under the weight, but she carried it, step by step, toward the river. The clown followed her, limping. "You can't save them all," he called after her. "Watch me." She reached the railing and threw the bomb into the water. The river swallowed it whole. There was a muted thud, a splash, and a wave of steam that blew through the city like a sigh. When she turned back, the clown was gone. Only the mask lay on the ground, half melted, smiling. That evening, she stood beside the parade route, now empty except for wet confetti and a broken tuba in the gutter. People were sweeping, cleaning, pretending it had all been an accident. A little girl knelt on the sidewalk, drawing a flag in chalk. The lines were crooked, the stars uneven, but she was humming while she worked. Yankee Girl watched her for a moment and smiled. Across the river, something moved in the water, a shape dragging itself onto the bank, coughing, laughing softly to no one. The wind carried the sound of a music box, playing an old comedy tune off-key. Yankee Girl turned her collar up against the rain and started walking. The city was safe for now. Tomorrow it might not be. That was fine. She'd be there when the laughter started again.